Hi folks, HR Funk here. Finally ready to begin a project that I first told you about several months ago. In a midweek update back in I think February, I told you about this scope. This is the M1000-Pro from Hilux Leatherwood, and the project that I just mentioned is a long-term evaluation of this scope. This scope traces its lineage all the way back to the Vietnam War, where the auto trajectory and range-finding scope was developed by Jim Leatherwood. If you go back and look at my evaluation of this rifle from last summer, and also the video that I made when I attended the course at Bang Steel, I was able to successfully use this scope and rifle combination to engage targets out over 800 yards. And considering that I was shooting Federal 168 grain gold medal match through this system, I felt like I was pushing the limits of the system, the optic, and the ammunition, not to mention the shooter, by making shots that far. The new evolution of the M1000 scope, the M1000-Pro, has several upgrades over and above the older M1000. And in this video, I want to take a very close look at the features and the upgrades on the M1000-Pro. And then in future segments of this series, I'm going to update and evaluate the scope and talk about its performance and also show how it's performing on the range. So with that introduction, let's take a close-up look at the M1000-Pro. There are really two parts to the M1000-Pro. There is the optic itself, and then there is the auto ranging and trajectory system. And I'm going to cover both of these portions separately. The optic is a variable magnification scope with a power range from 2 to 10. It has a 30mm main tube and a 42mm objective lens. The M1000-Pro is shockproof, waterproof, and fog-proof, and it mounts very easily to any Weaver style or 1913 Picatinny rail. Mounting the M1000-Pro is about as simple and straightforward as this process can be. Since the scope base and the rings are integral parts of the auto trajectory and range finding system, all that's required is to loosen the thumb screws and place the scope in the position where you want it on the rail. Push forward so it's forward against the lugs of the scope base, and then tighten the thumb screws. And these screws are to be tightened finger tight. I would say good and finger tight to make sure that they don't move. I did notice with my original M1000, the first few times that I used it, these had a tendency to loosen, and I would just check them periodically and tighten them if I found them to be a little bit loose, and eventually that stopped happening. Either I just got them tight enough that they won't loosen back up, or they took a little bit of a set or what have you, but I don't notice that on the original M1000 anymore, and I will check these also periodically and make sure they don't loosen up, but I don't expect to have a problem with these either. Once you've installed the scope on your rifle, and before you do the final tightening of the thumb screws, be sure to check the eye relief and make sure you can see the entire image in the ocular lens. Also, be sure to check from different magnification settings and also different positions just to make sure you can see that entire image and you don't start to get any tunneling effect as you're aiming through the scope. The elevation and windage turret are calibrated in 1/4 minute of angle clicks, and they are finger adjustable. The clicks are very distinct. I don't know if you can hear that, but they are very easy and very clear clicks. In fact, they feel more distinct and sound more distinct than a lot of optics that I've looked at recently. The caps on the adjustment turrets are resettable to 0. So once the optic is zeroed at the proper distance, you can realign the 0 marking with the indicator on the scope body. The lenses of the M1000-Pro are coated with Leatherwood's Diamond Tough 14 coating to improve light transmission and also help resist scratching. The ocular lens features a fast focus eyepiece to help make sure the reticle is in sharp focus. The reticle used by the M1000-Pro is Leatherwood's HR1 MOA reticle, and it can be used by the shooter for a variety of things, from windage and elevation holds to range estimation, but most importantly, it can be used in conjunction with the auto ranging and trajectory system, and when the target at an unknown distance is properly bracketed, the M1000 automatically compensates for bullet drop at whatever range the target is located, and the only thing the shooter has to do at that point is squeeze off a good shot. That HR1 reticle is illuminated, and the illumination is controlled by the rheostat on the left side of the scope. The first 3 settings on the rheostat are night vision settings. 4 and 5 are designated as low light condition settings. 0 is an off position. And then there are 5 more illumination settings all the way up to the maximum setting. And once again, 0 is off. To power that illuminated reticle, the M1000-Pro uses a standard CR2032 battery, and 2 of them are included inside the box when you purchase your scope. To access the M1000-Pro's battery compartment, you simply unscrew the cap on top of the rheostat. You can then install the battery and replace the cap. The M1000-Pro is available with either red or green illumination, and as you can see, I selected the green illumination. That HR1 reticle is located in the scope's second focal plane, meaning it stays the same size through the entire magnification range. Now let's move on to the auto ranging and trajectory, or ART system. This system is comprised of the M1000-Pro's base, its rings, and the power ring and trajectory cam located right in front of the ocular lens. The power ring and trajectory cam appears to be all one piece, but it is actually 3 different rings. There is the power and range ring at the back, the calibration ring in the center, and the trajectory cam in the front. And these rings each have their own purpose, and I'll cover this in detail when I talk about calibrating the M1000-Pro to a specific load. But in this video, what I'll say is, if you bracket the target using that HR1 reticle properly, you will be turning the power ring and the trajectory cam simultaneously. As you do that, if you look at the bottom of the scope, you'll notice that it raises and lowers as that trajectory cam is turned. This is what allows the scope to automatically compensate for bullet drop at varying distances, and it is mated to the trajectory of whatever load you're using in your rifle. Now, one complaint that I've heard lodged against the ART system is the fact that the magnification power you're using is always tied to that trajectory cam, so you can't turn the power up higher or the magnification higher without changing the trajectory setting. That's actually not true. All you have to do is slightly loosen the screw on the side of the power and trajectory ring, pull it back slightly as I did there, and I can now use whatever magnification I want without changing the trajectory setting of the M1000-Pro. I can also use this lock screw to lock the cam in place to make absolutely certain it doesn't move as I'm changing my magnification. This really is a brilliant piece of engineering, and I'm surprised this system is not much more popular than it is. My only real complaint with the ART system is the fact that when the power ring is locked into the trajectory cam, it makes turning it a little bit more difficult. It's a little stiffer than you would typically experience if you were just changing magnification on a scope. But considering that that's also compensating for your bullet drop at an unknown distance, I can definitely live with the ring being a little bit harder to turn. Another nice side benefit of the ART system is the fact that the scope comes from the factory already mounted in the rings and attached to the base. And what's really nice about that is the reticle is pre-leveled inside the scope. So if you've ever spent half an hour fiddling around trying to level your rings on a scope, you don't have to do that with the M1000-Pro because it's already set up when you take it out of the box. If you ever would happen to find yourself in a situation where the reticle is not level in your M1000-Pro, you can loosen the ring cap screws and rotate the scope slightly to level that reticle, and then of course tighten the ring cap screws back down. The M1000-Pro also has a gross windage adjustment. If you would find yourself in a situation where you don't have sufficient adjustment in the windage turret to be able to zero the scope, you can remove the scope and then loosen this big Allen screw and this big Allen screw, and you'll notice on both sides of the front ring there is a smaller Allen screw. And by loosening one side and then tightening the other, you can make very large windage adjustments with the scope. According to the manual, there are 40 minutes of angle adjustment in this scope ring. And it seems counterintuitive, but you want to move the scope in the opposite direction you want the bullet strike to move on the target. The M1000-Pro comes from the factory with two plastic flip-up scope covers, a lens cloth, two 2032 batteries, a quick start guide, a manual, a Torx wrench for the ring cap screws, and also two proper size Allen wrenches to make those gross windage adjustments that I just mentioned a moment ago. And that's going to do it for the up-close look at the M1000-Pro. As you can see, I now have it mounted to my brand new Ruger American Hunter rifle, and the next time you see both of these items, it'll be on the range. And that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, as always, make sure you forward those to me. Remember, if you order anything from Optics Planet, be sure to use my discount code, which is... And if you use that discount code, it's good for 5% off anything you purchase from Optics Planet. See you next time, folks. Until then, good shooting. Bye-bye.